everybody. Happy, what is it, Thursday. Last week, some of you may have seen, I posted sort of a down dog pose clinic where we basically just broke down downward facing dog. Today I want to offer something similar, a pose clinic for Chaturanga Dandasana. Those of you not familiar with the Sanskrit, Chaturanga is really the yoga push-up. It's different than a normal push-up, and it's also something that, kind of like down dog, you will do many times in any given yoga class, and many times in a yoga lifetime. And because of the demand Chaturanga places on the shoulder girdle, it is hard, and it has a big propensity for injury. It happens all the time because we don't articulate and activate the right muscles to stabilize our shoulders, more on the back of the shoulders or the side. Our serratus anterior is here. We talked about that last time with down dog. And then we've got muscles that also help draw shoulder blades together. And we're really looking to do a little bit of both in order to stabilize shoulder girdle. And then there's a whole, like, what's the belly, the core muscles doing, our transverse abdominis, our really deep core muscles, as well as legs, our inner thighs, adductors. So it really does encompass the whole body, but the injury is often with shoulders, and you do Chaturanga so many times in a flow class, and then you do that over and over again every time you show up, and those same patterns of misalignment keep happening. This is where issues arise. And so if you didn't notice, I'm pretty passionate about alignment when it comes to some of these poses. That is not because I think this is the right way, this is the wrong way, but there are ways to optimally align your body in a pose so that you don't get hurt. Like, that's really what I care about. And so it's really about engaging, strengthening the right muscles. And so for today, it's not going to really be like a class. It's going to be more like workshop-y, you doing some drills just so that we can kind of get the hang. And then you hopefully will work on these on your own so that you can sort of build up the strength for Chaturanga and to do it well. Cool. So when it comes to workshopping poses, you can see with down dog, I'm a big fan of props. I'm a big fan of props always, but especially when we're trying to activate and learn muscular engagement patterns. And so I want you to really have all the things. If you have a bolster, grab it. If you don't, then make sure you've got several blankets, 2 or 3. So I've got a bolster, I've got a blanket, a couple blocks, and a strap. So you kind of want to gather everything you can. Of course, if you don't have yoga props, use what you can that will work. But I was telling my Zoom class last night, like, if you ever thought you could get away without having props at home, if this sort of pandemic has taught us anything, get some yoga props at home. So go ahead and clear your mat of props and just have a seat, hips on heels, or you can place a block. I'll face you guys. Place a block between your feet and just sit upright. So let's just take a few moments to drop in, even though this isn't a traditional, class style practice. Let's just take a moment to gather. I think anytime we learn new skills, it can be challenging, right? We're going to potentially be learning to wake muscles up that maybe never have, or the ones that technically forget. So that in and of itself is physically challenging, but also when we're sort of learning something new, it can be a lot. And I'll be throwing like terms at you that some of you that kind of geek out on this anatomy stuff will probably like and appreciate, and others of you will be like, I don't know what the hell Allison's talking about. So I invite you to just like let whatever is going to filter in. Don't worry about retaining all of it. You can always revisit this. You can always, it'll sort of settle in when it's ready to settle in. So don't allow it to overwhelm you if you can. So just check in with breath. It's really our best barometer for how it's going. So even today, as we work through challenging shape like Chaturanga, you've always got your breath to kind of come back to. It'll let you know, like, am I overdoing this? Am I over tightening my jaw? Am I over clamping down? Or even, am I under doing this? Could I try a little bit harder? So you kind of use the breath in that way. So you can go ahead and open your eyes. So the main two things I really want to get across when it comes to Chaturanga, specifically because you're weight bearing on your hands, there's kind of two actions of the shoulder blades we're looking to do. And the challenge is we're looking to do a little bit of both, like 50-50, they kind of work together. So let's talk about what often happens in Chaturanga. I'm just going to do it with my knees down so I don't injure myself showing you guys the wrong way. But if you watch my shoulders, what usually happens is the shoulders dive forward towards the floor, and there's this sort of hardening in the chest that happens because we're tight here, so the chest, shoulders take over, and we just sort of overstretch here, not doing anything here. So we're trying to avoid that. So what do we need to do? Two things. We really want to activate serratus anterior, and that's this, we did it last week in down dog, sort of this pushing action. You can see my shoulder blades move away from each other. We want to do that like 50% because we're on our hands. But then at the same time, we also want to think about drawing shoulder blades a little bit together. So there's like half this, and our shoulder can then be like really set in its socket. And when you combine those two things with good belly engagement, transverse abdominis, that corset action, as well as strong legs, inner thighs, then suddenly you've really got the setup from head to toe to make this pose happen in a smart and safe way. So have a seat. I'll show from the side so you can see. And stretch your arms in front of you and make fists. So we would, of course, never advocate for punching or hitting in yoga, but if you make fists, you'll sort of get this idea, like we talked about last week, of the punch plug. That's activating these sort of shoulder stabilizing muscles, serratus anterior mainly. So with straight arms, punch your arms forward and really activate, spread your shoulder blades apart a little bit. Draw them a little out of your ears. So this action we learned last week. Now, just slightly, not all the way, think about drawing the inner shoulder blades a little together as if you're almost trying to open your chest, but you're not because you're still trying to punch. So you find a little bit of both. Really plug shoulders in their sockets. Move them out of your ears, and then draw your belly button back. Breathe deeply. Great, and then go ahead and release. So let's grab straps, and it'll be easier for you guys to see my belly engagement, my arm engagement here. The other muscles we're looking to activate are our trapezius, the back of our arms, and so that's the action that happens when I sort of have you sweep your blade arms back. So make your strap loop about as wide as your shoulders here, and then slip the loop just above your wrists. And you can bend your elbows. And then draw your shoulder blades together and really overemphasize opening the chest, like you would in a back bend. And then draw your tailbone down. You see, notice how my tendency is to just like stick my butt out. So draw your tailbone down, belly back, and then make blade arms, sharpen, straighten your arms, and try to break the strap apart. So literally, like you're gonna break the strap apart, lift your chest. So this is the drawing of the shoulder blades together action. And that gets easier the more you squeeze your triceps. So breathe. One more breath. Good. Release. Remember those actions. Take your loop, this time slip it just above your wrist in front of you. Make blade arms, just like you did behind you. Arms in front of you. And then break the strap apart, just like you did earlier with your fist. Punch your fingertips forward. So protract or spread the shoulder blades apart and plug them out of your ears. Do that a lot. 100%. Protract, push forward. Now, back out 50%. Do what we just did with arms behind you. Draw your shoulder blades a little bit together, but keep pushing forward. So you push forward, pull together until you sort of find a good in-between. Break the strap. Belly back for 3. Keep pushing fingers forward, 2. But continue to draw shoulder blades a little bit together behind you, 1. Good, and then release. Make sure your loop is a little wider than it just was, so maybe slightly wider than shoulders. And then you're going to bring it behind you and slip it above your elbows. So if your loop is too tight, you won't be able to get in. So make it big enough that you can get in, but you really want to be able to have your arms outside of you. But see how my shoulders are kind of pinned behind me. Sit on your heels or sit on a block. And then turn your palms to face down, pronate forearms, and then flex your wrists. This is Chaturanga arms. So imagine you had hands on the wall or the floor and push them a little bit away from you. Get your shoulders out of your ears and then just slightly draw your shoulder blades, your upper arms back. Pull your belly back, breathe. And then you can release. So 3 actions of the shoulders I'm going to keep cueing. Is the punching forward action, punch forward. Is the plug, shoulders out of ears, and then it's a little slight retraction or draw shoulder blades together. So punch, plug, retract. Yeah, I'll keep saying it. We'll keep talking about it. So let's add shoulders and belly. So we've got 4 layers of abdominal muscles. Outer layer, our most, least helpful layer when it comes to this stuff is our rectus abdominis. That's like from doing crunches. Then we've got internal, external obliques that sort of run crossways. And then our deepest core muscle, deepest layer is the transverse abdominis. And actually the fibers run horizontally. So if you think about a corset, like if you were to put on a corset, you really want to think about drawing your ribs in and back, like you could sort of hug everything into the midline, like you're being saran wrapped from the outside in. So take your belt or something, some sort of fabric, and I want you to make your belt, we did this last week with the down dog, clip it above your chest and tightly sort of find this. So we cannot forget our serratus anterior. Yeah, so we've got this good look, and then you've got this whole tail that I want you to wrap lower, really kind of around your ribs, maybe down to your belly button. Wrap it like snug, but not so tight that you can't breathe. So essentially what we're doing is we're making our own corset. So this is a good look. Yeah, so you've got your little corset here, and then our shoulder reminders here. So go ahead and kneel and stretch your arms out in front of you. This time, instead of fists, turn your palms down, flex your wrists. So now we've got our sort of plank pose or our down dog arms. So remember the 3 shoulder actions, protract or punch. So push your hands away. Really try to break out against the sides of your armpit strap here. That's your punch. Then plug shoulders out of ears. Keep punching. And then slightly retract. Pull your upper arm bones, shoulder blades back. So you're doing all 3. Punch, plug, draw back together. Keep doing that. And then I want you to think about pulling your ribs in, almost like you could pull away from your little cummerbund here. And like it could get so loose it would just slide down. You want to think about drawing inward. So back to the arms. Punch, plug, retract. Draw your ribs in, belly back. Try to make your belly strap so loose it would just slide down to your hips. It's not cutting, but like it could. Push, punch, plug, retract. What's your belly doing? For 3, 2, 1. Let's keep this get up on, downward facing dog. Familiar down dog. We love down dog. So good news is some of these shoulder actions we already saw in down dog. All right, everyone, inhale, plank pose. Lower your knees this first round. So set your shoulders up over your wrists. Let's practice our actions in plank with knees down. Punch, so push the mat away. If you're having trouble, look at my shoulders. Plug, move your shoulders out of your ears, and then so slightly retract shoulder blades together. Lift your belly, knit your front ribs in, breathe. Good, and then rest. Take a moment, rest your hands. So there's a lot of weight on the wrist. You've got to be mindful of that. This time we'll go in plank pose, knees up. Obviously, if it's too much, keep your knees down. Come back to plank. So before we lift the knees, let's go for the shoulder work. Punch the floor away. Plug shoulders. Maybe 50% at most. Retract, but keep pushing, plugging, retracting. Lift your belly, knit your ribs. Here we go. Tuck your toes, knees up. Are you forgetting to punch, plug, retract? Pull your ribs back. Try to pull them away from the front of your belly corset. Squeeze your legs for 3. Punch 2. Plug, retract 1. Good. And then release. All right, take this guy off. So those are really our main actions, plank pose, that we will take into Chaturanga. The biggest difference is in Chaturanga, remember, our arms are bent. And a regular push-up is much wider and the elbows go wider. Chaturanga, I often hear the cue to hug your elbows in. You don't really want to do that. You want there to be some space between your elbow, but you definitely want them closer than a regular push-up. Yeah, this is where the tricep strength will come in handy. So, bolster. I'm going to go bolster blanket, but do what works for you. It depends how tall you are and all of that sort of thing. But you're going to lay, see how my chest is on the blanket bolster, but my head and chin are off. And then I can set my hands up. So you want to set your wrists under your elbows, so you're going for 90 degrees. And then look at my feet. So tuck your toes under. I want you guys to watch me first round before you do it, so check me out. Step 1, legs. Lift your knees, squeeze your thighs. So look how strong my legs are. Step 2, you're not going to be able to see this, but I want you to think about drawing your tailbone down and trying to pull your belly button off. Like I could almost slide my hand under there if I was really going for it. Legs, belly, watch. Do your 3 actions. Punch, plug, retract. Don't forget belly, don't forget legs. And then you just hover. And release. That feels a little tall. I'm going to try it once without. So you guys join me on your bolster blanket. Set up your hands, wrists under elbows, look straight ahead. So lift your knees, firm your thighs. Draw your tailbone down, pull your belly button off the bolster. Don't forget your legs, don't forget your belly. Now punch the floor away with your hands. Plug shoulders, retract slightly. Don't forget your belly, remember to corset your ribs. Hover. And release. If you're like, holy, you know what, that feels really hard. It is really hard. And so I have less far to lift if I've got a blanket. So the higher you are, know that, you don't have as much to hover. But the elbow action I like to think of is to reach them straight back. Not so much about squeezing them in, but reach them straight back. Let's do one more. So support your chest. And if you guys can see, like I'm in Chaturanga right now, so your work is to barely lift. Firm your legs. Punch your hands. You guys see how that just helped me lift up a little bit? Punch, plug, retract. Lift your belly, corset your ribs, hover. 3. Reach your elbows straight back. 2, 1. Hui. So, my teacher always sort of said, like, this drill that we just did and the one we're about to do are really good sort of litmus tests for how your Chaturanga is going. And if you're not able to do it without, like, sort of doing the wave, the worm, then that just means you haven't built the strength in probably the shoulders and the core yet. And that doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It's normal. In fact, I wish more people took the time to really learn the actions. I just think it often means you're probably a better candidate for when you're in class to like lower your knees and do chaturanga, right? It just means maybe like build that strength before you start to lift your knees off the floor. Let's lay all the way down on the floor. It's going to be the same idea. This time we don't have a bolster. Harder. So chin down, hands, wrists under elbows. Let's actually rest forehead down. Tuck your toes, lift your knees. Point your elbows straight back. Keep your legs firm, draw your tailbone down, pull your belly button off the floor. Now that's the key. Don't forget, you've got your corset. Pull your ribs in. Push the hands down, punch the mat, plug the shoulders, retract. Don't forget your corset. Exhale, chaturanga. Lower down. So if there's not enough retraction, the shoulders do this. If there's not enough pushing, then we have no stability for weight bearing on the hands. And then the belly, the common misalignment of the belly, of course, is sort of this like back bend thing, which you don't want because it's really meant to be plank with bent elbows. Let's try one more time. Again, if you feel like you're doing the worm, you probably are. That's impressive, but you just have to keep working this. It gets easier. There were many years where I could not do this in one straight line. So set your hands up, forehead down, tuck your toes, lift your knees, firm your thighs. Draw your tailbone down, lift your belly. Draw your shoulder blade or your elbows straight back, and then push your hands into the mat. Plug your shoulders, halfway retract. Knit your ribs, chaturanga. And lower. Hui. You guys doing all right? Downward dog. So that's all great and fine. Most of us aren't doing chaturanga that way in a yoga class. So now the key is like, what do we do? We're in a flow. From down dog, everyone shift forward plank. Make sure you wiggle your feet back so you're in straight line. Don't forget the shoulder actions. Punch, plug, retract, corset your ribs. Here's the action. Let's all do it together. Exhale, shift way forward, tippy toes. Shift back. Do that 2 more times. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, shift back. Yeah, that's the breath. One more. Inhale. Tippy, tippy, tippy toes, and shift back. Lower your knees. So why do we shift forward? Everybody's like shoulder stuff is different, and so I encourage you, like, if any of these things literally give you pain, then that probably means you should adjust. But in general, we shift forward so that when we do bend our elbows, they're more lined up over the wrists, and that helps our shoulders set up better. But I've heard schools of thought that like don't advocate for that. I would encourage you to play with what works in your body and not what's easier. Sometimes what you need to do is the harder thing, but what actually is like less painful and maybe just challenges your muscles more. So take your 2 blocks and let's go second side blocks about shoulder width. And you can kind of line up, so when I spread my fingers like I was going to do down dog, my index fingers point right to the blocks. So let's go there, downward facing dog. So we'll add that in. We're going to do knees down first, then no knees down. Inhale, shift forward plank. Punch, plug, retract. Corset your ribs, lift your belly, squeeze your thighs. Shift way, 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 way forward, lower your knees. Shift more forward. Bend your elbows, hover. Hover your shoulders over the block. Push up and push back. So the block just gives you sort of a little bit of a line where you try not to dip lower than that block. Let's try without the knees unless you need to keep the knees. Inhale, shift forward. Punch, plug, retract. Corset your ribs, lift your belly. Shift way forward. Bend the elbows, pause. Punch, plug, retract, lift your belly, push back up, downward facing dog. Breathe. And then you can lower your knees, lose that. Before we add this all together in, let's say, Surya Namaskar A, strategies for modifying Chaturanga. One strategy, I did this for years, and this is what actually helped me build the strength, is that when I got to plank pose, the teacher would say lower Chaturanga. I just lowered my knees, went all the way to my belly. I did cobra instead of up dog, and then on my way back up, I practiced my legs, belly, shoulders, and I practiced pushing up straight, and over time, that's what really helps. So Chaturanga from the ground up is one of the best ways to get good alignment from top to the ground. So that's one strategy. Another strategy is simply, if you know it's hard for you and your shoulders aren't stable, lower your knees, shift forward, lower, and go into the rest of the pose. I don't know, maybe I'm lame. Who cares if you have to lower your knees? I would every time rather see a good, aligned, smart Chaturanga with their knees down than a crappy one without. And that's not because I'm a control freak, it's because it's safer. So be smart. All right, let's put this all together. We'll do Surya Namaskar A, and then we'll be done. So stand at the top of your mat, big toes together. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, look forward. And plant your hands. Let's, for alignment's sake, just step back to plank. That's a whole nother class to practice hopping back. Props out of the way. So make sure your fingers are spread. If you need to lower your knees to set yourself up, do. Punch, plug, retract. That's your shoulder blades. Corset your ribs, squeeze your legs. Here we go. Shift way forward. Don't forget punch, plug, retract. Exhale, bend, pause. Inhale, up dog or the cobra. That's in next week's class. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good. And then lower your knees. Have a seat. Pause. Yeah, let's stretch our wrists before we go. Come to the backs of your hands and sit back. So work on those drills. Like find your weak spot, find the ones that were hardest for you and work those, right? So the only way we're going to strengthen is to do it. I was having a conversation with someone today. It's kind of like anything, but yoga only works if you do yoga. Right? Whatever that is. Meditation only works if you meditate. And then flip to the palms of your hands. Sit back again. Stretch the underside of forearms and wrists. Yeah. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. Next week, potentially the goal will be to work upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. So that sort of completes our sort of dog cycle tutorials of down dog, Chaturanga, up dog. And then it's like, once you have those baselines, it makes flow classes, I think, better and safer. So thank you guys. Let me know if you have questions, comments, or if there's other things you're confused about. I'm happy to try to help via YouTube. Thanks.